Hey, it's Lemon. Welcome to the Backlogs. Hope you're doing well. Got an interesting concept for you today. What would you get if you combined Greco-Roman mythology with sci-fi aesthetics, and then turn that mixture into a metroidvania? Answer: Somber Echoes. Releasing on Steam back in January, this game tells the story of Adrestia and her sister Harmonia. And to all my Greco-Roman scholars out there who think they know where this is going, yes, but also no. And to everyone else in the audience who's frantically Googling mythology right now, whoa, slow your roll there, buddy. This is a Backlogs video, not a test. I mean, there is a test at the end that's worth 95% of your grade, and because this is a Backlogs video, you already know that mythology isn't the only thing we're testing today. So, with that in mind, can you beat Somber Echoes without using the shield? Before we go deep diving the lore and the mechanics, a quick shout out to the Somber Echoes team for sponsoring today's video. Always a good day when a smaller game studio is able to break through the slop in my inbox, and an even better day when they know that challenging me to break their game is a surefire way to get my attention. If today's video makes you want to play it for yourself, the game is already on Steam, but just released on Xbox and PS5 as well, so you can get your hands on it no matter your console of preference. And they're even adding a challenge mode with both boss fight and puzzle challenges, with more content planned for future updates as well. Use my link in the description or pinned comment and let them know I sent you. But enough about that. Let's break another game over our knees, shall we? We're playing as Adrestia, Greek goddess of inevitable fate, pressing necessity, and the inescapability of punishment. Our story begins with us returning to the Atromatos, a spaceship that may as well be a floating city in size. Our sister, Harmonia, has ascended to power aboard the ship, and a civil war is brewing between those who worship her and those who think her a false idol. But don't worry, I'm sure a quick conversation between us sisters will be enough to sort things out. Woo! Well, that escalated quickly. I guess she wasn't much for talking. It's okay though, I'm a goddess. Surely gravity means nothing. Okay, note to self, space gravity is still gravity. Am I dead? I think I'm dead. Right, we've all played a Metroidvania before. We know how this goes. Time to learn the ropes. Stick to move, A to jump, reach up to climb the higher platforms. Simple enough.
The voice is urged.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize this game came with a side of horror. I make my way through the tutorial, making quick work of the jumping and platforming, and after a short while, the game introduces us to the one mechanic we can't use, the Nyx shield. If we were playing normally, we would be able to both block enemy damage and, if timed properly, do a perfect parry. Take a good long look, ladies and gentlemen, because you'll never see this shield ever again. Now, because this is a Metroidvania, it's safe to assume that every single piece of our arsenal will be important. That's how these things typically go anyway. Gain a power, use said power to progress. And while we probably aren't using our shield to open doors or get through platforming puzzles, one does have to wonder how critical it might be for upcoming battles. Well, you know what they say, the best defense is a good offense. And now that we have our Gladius, we can put that saying into practice. Come here, you nightmare beastie, taste my steel. Ow, not so hard, jeez. Right, so, two things to note. First off, going straight for the throat is a bad idea. We're definitely gonna have to do a bit more maneuvering during our fighting if we want to avoid damage. Up to and including running away from even the most basic fights. Can't lose health if you don't engage. And secondly, if we do lose health, we can take comfort in the knowledge that killing monsters releases orbs into the air, which will give us back a portion of HP. So at least there's that. Huh, this is different. Almost peaceful. Oh, that's because it's a memory. So, lore time. Adrestia and Harmonia are siblings, and in typical Greek mythology fashion, decided it would be fun to get their prophecies told to them by an oracle. Kinda ruined the mood when the oracle prophesized that Adrestia would kill Harmonia though. Speaking of killing the good vibes, I found the boss of the tutorial, and it's one ugly, whatever that thing is. But don't worry, it'll be an easy fight. All we have to do is use our shield. Oh, Gomoto Echo Plexi. Well, time to get creative. We can't block it, but we can jump it. Problem solved. Well, one problem anyway. The beastie still chases us around the arena, biting at our ankles, so that's a slight problem. But so long as we aren't greedy, it actually isn't. Once the boss rams into the wall, we can easily get a good couple swings in before it begins biting. And we're fast enough to run away from said bites, as long as we aren't in the middle of an attacking animation. And after several dodges and a flurry of sword swings, we've done it. The beastie runs off into a teleporter of some kind, and we're able to progress forward, right into another memory. This time, it's the day that we chose to leave the Atromatos spaceship. It seems that the prophecy of her death at our hands did some real psychological damage to Harmonia, and before we left the ship, she had devolved into constant rambling about visions of greatness and stolen birthrights, screaming at us in one breath, and then pleading for us to stay on the ship in the next. Rough stuff. But hey, at least the end of the tutorial's in sight. Just gotta reach the sunlight. Gravity, you cruel temptress, why do you taunt me? Oh good, and now every single spider creature thing is homing in on my location. No, I'm fine. This is fine. What the? Where did that thing come from? Oh, screw it. It can't be any worse than what I'm already dealing with. Ooh, no one told me I could be gloriously incandescent. So wait, what happens when I push this button? Ooh! And just like that, I've escaped the halls of death and am back on the Athromatos. May we never do that again. Now the big question, where do we go from here? Please be friendly, please be friendly, please be friendly. Oh, thank God you're friendly. Meet the god Aether. Aether tells me I'm welcome for the mobility boost, and tells me that I need to get back to Harmonia, or else even more people aboard the ship would die. Say no more, God of the Sun Bros. I got you. Thanks to Aether's blessing, we can now do that burst of speed, called the Aether Lantern, anytime we want. It can be angled in any direction, can be slightly manipulated mid-flight, and recharges as soon as you touch the ground. Very nice. The length of your burst is also surprisingly long. You wouldn't think you could reach the next level here, but you absolutely can. And, after some platforming, I'm back at Harmonia's chamber. Well, that was a short game, but we're back at the final boss. Time to die, sister of mine. You know, you think I would have learned after the first time. But unlike last time, I've got the power of Aether on my side, which means we don't splat against the pavement this go around. And when we land, we're greeted by Aether's counterpart, Nyx. Nyx tells me that we've been granted the power of her shield, but that we need to delve deeper into the Athromatos to have enough strength to face Harmonia again. Hey, about that shield, can I have a different power? Okay, that's fine, I'll figure it out. I find a checkpoint where I can rest to heal myself to full and reset all of the enemies, but you can also enhance your equipment here as well. Looks like it costs us some currency to upgrade, which we get from defeating enemies, so no problem there, but it also takes a specific material as well. Each piece of equipment I have needs a special material, so it sounds like we're going to need to do some exploring if we're going to maximize our arsenal. Well, no time like the present, might as well search every nook and cranny. I make my way through the lower residential level, getting some practice with the lantern ability, and encountering several monstrosities as I go. Their movesets are clearly designed to require me to use my shield in between attacks, but why do that when I can just lantern out of reach? With how fluid the movement is, I can actually use the lantern to jet behind the enemy as well, giving me ample time to carve it to pieces in between its attacks. And here I was worried that not having a shield would be problematic. I can even reflect projectiles by hitting them with my Gladius. Not all projectiles, mind you, but better some than none. As I progress through the map, I find an orb every now and again, usually above a dead body. These orbs are memories, detailing important events that happened on the Athromatos. This one documents how a group called the Cindered are running around setting fire to everything in an attempt to eradicate the infestation. And I now have several questions. What is this infestation the memory speaks of? Where did it come from? Is it why there are so many monsters on the ship, or are they something else? Are the Cindered accepting applications? So many equally important questions, all in need of answers. Well, there's certainly a lot of strange creatures around the infestation, so that seems to connect those two dots pretty succinctly. And as for the Cindered, I think it's safe to say that they aren't hiring. Or at the very least, the hiring process is extremely aggressive. That aside, we're gonna have to go looking for the rest of the answers we seek. So I check the map for unexplored areas, and use the checkpoints I've found so far to quickly warp to and fro around the map. Because yes, every checkpoint can be used to fast travel, right from the beginning of the game. Which is greatly appreciated. And would you look at that? My first collectible, a Nyx fragment. Collect 4 of these, and you get an extra health piece. Definitely useful. I carve my way through hordes of creatures, find myself another Nyx fragment, then find an old lady, who begs me to save any and all citizens of the Athromatos that I can. It's my understanding that finding all of the citizens changes which ending you get. So add that to our growing list of things to find, I suppose. And after a few minutes of exploring what remains of the ruined residential areas, I found Hephaestus. The Greek god of blacksmiths and crafting, he's responsible for a majority of the statues and monuments throughout the ship. But he doesn't care about those. He wants me to find all the pieces of a necklace. A necklace that, if repaired, could allegedly save the ship. Vague, but sure, why not? I'll keep an eye out. I fight a tiny Cthulhu monster, which is very aggressive, but can be easily outmaneuvered if you can jump over it. Then meet up with Ares, the captain of the Athromatos Watchmen. No collectibles for him. He just wants me to find the Kirki chamber of this particular area, which will unlock all the doors so that he and I can continue looking for civilians and help retake the ship. Hey sir, you seen a Kirki chamber around here? No, that's okay, you don't have to come with me, I can find it myself. Alrighty then. Well, I didn't find the chamber, but I did find a piece of that necklace Hephaestus was looking for. Ooh, shiny. What's this? Hover boots. And in my size, too. What are the odds? They won't actually carry you upwards, but they do give you slow falling, which can save you from long drops or, more importantly, give you a few precious seconds to think about which way to go before falling into a danger zone. Also, just in case I'm making it look too easy, the whole no shield thing is definitely a problem when it comes to combat. You can manage fine when you're in a wide open space to fight in, but get shoved into a tight corner and all the lantern boosting in the world won't make a difference. So you need to mind your environment and know when to run. I find a fourth piece of Nyx fragment, which increases my health bar by 1, find one of the statues made by Hephaestus, and am given the prompt that looking at this particular statue stirs a memory in my mind. And if we go to my inventory, we can see that this is yet another collectible. Lots to find in this game, it seems. Wait a minute, I knew that sounded familiar. I might be going out on a limb here, but guess which Greek character has an important necklace in their story? Harmonia. And guess who made the necklace for her? Hephaestus. My, didn't think I'd actually read, did you, game? Apparently, this necklace is cursed to bring nothing but misfortune to its owners. Y'all remember Oedipus? Yeah, this is the same necklace. I don't think I want to collect this one anymore. But you know what I do want? This Kirky chamber, which unlocks multiple doors in this section of the ship. Wonderful news. I also found a Legionnaire's Spear, which gives me a whole new weapon and moveset. Its uses are twofold. We can throw the spear into enemies, which will make them take extra damage from my Gladius attacks, or we can simply throw it to deal damage to flying or distant targets, potentially killing them in a single hit. The only downside to this is that when we throw the spear, we have to go collect it. Thankfully, if you lose track of it, you can press the spear button again and the game will point you in its direction. But yeah, don't go throwing it into a pit, or else you'll have to leave the area to get it back, at least in its current state. It's pretty damn strong though, and satisfying to throw at enemies. And considering we don't have a shield, it helps take care of a lot of problems we were initially having with some enemies. There's no lock-on system, so you'll have to be deliberate with your aim, but the results are definitely worth it. As for the extra damage, it only gives me an extra 25% more damage when lodged in an enemy, but that's still 25% less sword swings that I have to make, and it only improves with upgrades, so I won't complain. Man, I can't wait to see Harmonia's face when I chuck the spear at— oh hey, I was just talking about someone else. Apparently, Harmonia would like a truce, and for us to fight against the prophecy that we were assigned when we were younger. Cool proposal. Any reason you didn't mention it before you threw me off the balcony? Twice? Yeah, we're not doing that. What we are doing is finding our first hidden citizen, because make no mistake, I'm pretty sure every single one of the citizens is hidden behind fake walls. But it's not all bad news, because the map does a good job of showing their position if you get close enough. So at least we don't have to run around hitting every single wall with our sword. I make my way further into the district, and come across what is most definitely a boss arena. And look who it is! Good old ugly so-and-so. Back for more. Hope you've learned some new tricks, because I sure have. Well, no. No, it has not. The only new thing it has going on is that it brought some mobs with it, who do in fact increase the difficulty when you don't have a shield. But after several close calls and constantly wailing on its spear-embedded head, Ugly decides it's had enough and retreats again. Come on back when you got something new to bring to the table, you hear? Speaking of new, look what I just found. Another upgrade for my lantern. Now, whenever I see a yellow surface, I can latch onto it with my lantern ability. This makes scaling walls and ceilings a breeze, and opens up all sorts of puzzles for the game. Worth noting though, the yellow surfaces only go in one direction, as indicated by the arrows, so keep that in mind. So, I've been playing for about an hour now, and as you can see, I've been pretty thorough. And because this is a Metroidvania, I wanted to make sure we touched on the map. Personally, I think it's one of the better ones I've come across. It shows all the necessary items, like one-way doors and collectibles that you missed, and it does that thing I love where it actually shows the platforms inside the room, not just a big old square on the map. And it even lets you put several pins on the map for your own mental notes, or you can type in a nickname for an individual room if that helps you remember why it's important. Good stuff all around, no complaints about the map function itself. The only thing that bothers me a bit is the fact that there are sometimes rooms with zero function, like this hallway here, or this random offshoot. No collectibles, no enemies, just extra noise on the map. That said, this is definitely a smaller nitpick and not a full complaint. I'm guessing it's because we're exploring a ship and the game wants it to feel like a lived-in space, so there's random rooms around to give it that feel. At least, that's what I suspect. Again, not my favorite thing in the world, but it's probably just a me thing. In any case, with the lower residences fully explored, it's time for somewhere new. Jump into the local teleporter, and pop out in the grove. Probably the ship's agricultural district, judging by the plant life. What a wonderful bees! Well, that was terrible. Can't wait to do that some more. But hey, at least I was able to increase my health bar again, so we got that going for us. Strangely, the grove leads back into another section of the residential district, and after fighting off a swarm of eyeballs, I get to the next boss of the game, the Phoenix, leader of the Cindered. Another tough fight without the shield. This boss is very aggressive, so we have to time our attacks well and avoid getting greedy. What's worse is that throughout the fight, the boss roars to tell his followers to throw firebombs at the edge of the arena, slimming down the footing I have to avoid his attacks. And God help you if you get caught in the flames. Stepping in fire or getting pushed into it by an attack causes you to take damage every half second or so, maybe even faster. And since the only way to recover health is to attack the boss, stepping in fire puts you in a very tough position. Oh, and don't think about using your spear. Phoenix here isn't interested. I hate to say it, but I don't think we're ready for this fight. Maybe we should go back and double check the map for anything we might have missed. And sure enough, there was. A second teleporter that takes you to a different portion of the grove. Must have skipped over that in favor of finishing the residential map. And would you look at that? Nanosteel alloy, the material I need to increase my Gladius damage by 25%. Ask and ye shall receive. That'll help a little bit. And after running throughout the grove and murdering every Groot I find, I finally find the other piece of the puzzle I was hoping for. The material that lets me upgrade my lantern ability. While the upgrades to the weapons are simple damage upgrades, the upgrades to the lantern are much more varied. The first upgrade that we just unlocked gives me iframes when I use the ability, with later upgrades giving me things like projectile reflection and faster attack speed. All useful stuff, but that initial upgrade is a game changer. What's more, I've found the tram system, which means we have more options than just fighting the Phoenix over and over again as well. I take the tram to the train station, where we'll eventually be able to unlock several new areas, find a memory that explains that Harmonia's first attack that killed me earlier has sucked the Athromatos into some sort of alternate dimension, and that all SOS beacons have gone unanswered, and after a little more exploring and health shard collection, I decide that it's time to give the Phoenix boss another go. So, with the knowledge that his minions will slowly shrink the arena to the center of the room with firebombs, let's discuss strategy. There's only 3 things we should be doing. Attacking as much as we can, using the new iframe ability of our lantern to its fullest to dodge incoming attacks, and using said lantern dodge to go straight up, falling behind the Phoenix whenever we come back down. His attacks are slow enough that you'll be able to see them coming, and also long enough that when you come back down, you can punish him for even thinking about hitting you. The hardest part is the end of the fight. There's very little room, and getting behind him starts to become less and less of a possibility. And if he's able to catch you with one of his attacks, you're going in the flames. Which, as we've discussed before, is not a great place to be. But keep up the pressure and attack as often as possible, and eventually, the Phoenix will go down to your onslaught. Moving right along. I meet up with Ares, who teaches me the Spear Recall ability, which means I can now hold the spear button and summon it back to my hand, no matter where it is. It's a bit slow, so using it mid-combat as a combo of sorts isn't really an option, but at least we won't lose it to a bad throw anymore. And would you look who it is? Harmonia, back again to throw words. This time around, she implies that I'm being misled by Nyx and Aether. They don't have any influence here in this alternate dimension, and are using me to bring the Athromatos back to a plane of existence where they have power again. I mean, these abilities they gave me are pretty great. I don't know if that argument of yours holds water, sis. But with a few more questions bouncing around my brain than before, we've reached a new area, the science labs. Huh, looks like those Cthulhu monsters are coming out of the lab elevators. Is that because they've spread to all parts of the ship? Or is it because that's where they're from originally? Well, only one way to find out. Alright, boys and girls, keep an eye out for anything fishy. What? What'd I say? Let's see what we got here. Memories about a female authority trying to perform a ritual and needing a specimen of nearly identical genetics? Well, damn, looks like it's a good thing I left the Athromatos when I did. I unlocked the science department's Kirky chamber and security doors, do my best to fight off all of the new monstrosities that are hidden throughout the area, of which there are many, and find more memories that seem to indicate that Harmonia is cloning herself for unknown reasons. And after fighting off what appears to be the remains of some of the scientists, I found the last normal one. He said something about being hunted by a creature with a giant eye. That just seems far-fetched. Oh hey look, another health boost. Yay. And after a few minutes of narrowly avoiding laser puzzles, finding civilians who smartly hid from all the monsters running around the ship, and eventually finding the material used to upgrade my spear, which I did immediately, I find the body of a watchman who was crushed to death, but just so happens to have a new weapon for me, the Arbiter, a 2-handed axe. Using it is simple, just hold the attack button. It's slow, so you can't use it without thinking, but you can easily throw it into your sword combos if you plan ahead, which is why I barely ever used it. Come on, this is me we're talking about. You know I like weapons that can dart in and out of combat. Big heavy bonk has never been my style. That said, it does work very well against enemies that have armor, so it's not completely without its merits. I find a room that seems to imply that the scientists were injecting people with Nocturne and studying the results, which probably explains all the monsters. Find another upgrade for my lantern, so I can now parry projectiles while dashing around. Then find an upgrade material for the shield. Oh boy, trash! Speaking of trash, it's time for the next boss. I'm sorry, that was rude. I don't even know you, and I was struggling to find a segue. It looks like our scientist buddy met his untimely end, but not before whatever he was carrying powered up the boss. Great, just what we needed. So, it's time to fight Charles. Yes, we're calling him Charles. There's no wiki for this game, so we get to call him whatever we want. Charles is actually a pretty straightforward fight. Throw the spear into the eyeball, then punish him for having such an obvious weak spot. No, it's the moves in between phases that you have to watch out for. His tentacle slams are easy to avoid so long as you hug the ground while doing so, which will make it so that your lantern recharges as quickly as possible. And his laser eye can be dodged with the lantern if you know it's coming. Just be sure to hover afterward, or else you'll end up in the fire and have a really bad time. Outside of that, just do your best to throw your spear into the weak spot whenever you've got a second to think, kill any mobs Charles tries to spawn, and give him the old wombo combo until Charles admits defeat and gives up the ghost. That's another boss down, and only a few more to go. Probably. Like I said, there's no wiki, we're going in completely blind here. No pun intended. And for my efforts, we get another lantern core, which means we just doubled our mobility potential. Tripled actually, because if you fall back towards your original launch points, you can relaunch a second time. And while this means that the puzzle platforming just went up another notch and opened up several areas we couldn't reach before, I'm just excited about the speedrun potential. Always a good time when a Metroidvania gives you near limitless dashing. I find another spear upgrade material, find a memory that confirms that Nocturne does, in fact, change people into horrific monsters, and strangely mentions the necklace in the same breath, then collect another statue memory. Still not sure what those are for yet. In other news, apparently the infection that we were trying to learn about in the beginning is none other than the Nocturne that the scientists were messing around with. It escaped the labs through vents and other passages, and started transforming all the flora and fauna on board the ship. I guess that explains the giant bees. Later on, I bump into Hephaestus again at another memory statue, and he seems to imply that these sculptures came to him in a dream and haunted him until he eventually made them. Still not sure why a statue of all things is stirring our memories, but maybe we'll get that answer with time. I slaughter more creatures that get in my way, zip my way through entire maps while collecting any and all loot that I find, and eventually come across the next boss of the game in the Grove. A metal bird of some kind. Let's call her Abby. Abby has multiple thrown weapon attacks that she'll do from up above you, and she also swoops in to try and attack with her claws. All you need to do is attack when the opportunity rises, dodge the incoming attacks, and if you can manage to get up to her, do some aerial attacks to knock her out of the sky and get more hits in while she's stunned. Things get a bit hectic in Phase 2, where Abby goes beast mode and launches projectiles all over the arena, but this is much easier to dodge if you stay on the ground while it's happening. And with one final spear toss to the dome, that's Abby destroyed on the first try. Easy game for babies. And for my reward, I stand in front of a dying sacred tree and get a new spear ability, Sunder. Now, my spear doesn't just hurt enemies. It can also destroy machines like the turrets I've been avoiding, as well as some security doors, because keycards are for chumps. Doom, eat your heart out. I find more upgrades for my sword, bringing my Gladius damage increase up to 50%, and find Artemis, dead and gone before I arrived. But it wasn't for nothing, because with his death, I now have Artemis's bow. It's decently strong and can pierce through multiple enemies, and even slows enemies that survive the attack. The only problem is that it costs one whole health container to use, so unless you've got a horde of enemies in front of you to recharge your health, you'll want to use it with caution. I find a memory that confirms that Harmonia rose to power through the church, which was how she was able to start a civil war, and then find another upgrade material, this time for the bow we just acquired. And this upgrade is absolutely necessary, as it reduces the health tax from one container to half. That feels much more reasonable to me. I continue exploring the ship, finding more garbage I can't use along the way, and other garbage that I absolutely need if I'm going to survive this challenge run. And it's right about here where I hit that Metroidvania wall that I seem to always encounter every time I play a game from this genre. You know the one I lovingly call, where the fuck do I go? Maybe I'm alone in this, but whenever I play a Metroidvania, there's always a point in the game where I seem to lose track of the goals I'm supposed to be following and just start wandering aimlessly. I know I'm supposed to use the new powers I've acquired to unlock a new room and continue to progress, but something in my brain just breaks and I can never find the one room I'm supposed to go to. At least, not unless I scour the map visiting every room I've been to in the last 4 hours. Again, I think that's just a me thing. Either that, or it's a staple of the Metroidvania genre, and it just frustrates me more than the average player. Either way, after an hour of re-exploring old rooms, I finally find the right vent and land in a room that has a new power for me. Supernova. Essentially, if I ever see a yellow sphere surrounded by vapor, I can launch out of it at rocket levels of force, destroying nocturne walls and zooming across entire rooms until I bump into something on the other side. What's more, if I set up a lantern ahead of time, you can then use that lantern to change the direction of your supernova, letting you explore rooms easier than ever before. And with my exploration ability now multiplied by a factor of 10, I find an upgraded material for my axe, which makes it so that I can swing it twice on a single charge, get into fights with what appears to be an automatic pallet jack of some kind, make a visit to the psychiatric ward that Harmonia was forced into when she started getting a little too loud about her divine rights to rule the Atromatos, then continue deeper into the ship's bowels where even stranger monstrosities lurk. Hey, no tongue on the first date. Come on now. And let me tell you, this place sucks. Normally, this would be an easy enough area, but with my lack of shield and the infinitely respawning spiderlings everywhere, this area is very quickly draining my health. A well-timed spear can take out the spiders in a single hit, but you need to be on your guard. Otherwise you can't line up your shot. I find another sculpture hidden amongst the grime and horror of the underdecks, and also find signs throughout the level that these monsters have been here a while, feasting on the less fortunate that live down here. Oh, and also a memory or two that seems to imply that Harmonia was able to control them before we entered the alternate dimension. So, probably not the best look for her right now. But don't worry, I'm sure this nightmare of a segment will be over soon. Well, that's the end of Somber Echoes. Please check under your seat for any belongings and proceed to the exit on your right. Okay, Big Ugly, round 3. Now with twice the ugly. The strategy for the bottom beastie is the same as it's always been, so no changes there, but we do have to watch out for the top boss's ranged attacks while fighting it. Good thing we got that lantern upgrade that lets us reflect projectiles, huh? Aw man, no damage? Boo. But with one final spear and sword to the face, that's the bottom beast finally defeated after 3 attempts, which means we've only got one more boss to go. It begins summoning smaller spiderlings to help it, which is unfortunate, but nothing we can't handle. And eventually, after dodging several bursts of fire from above, my spear brings the boss down to our level, where a few solid axe swings to the face and ye old wombo combo is enough to finish the job. Hopefully that's the last we'll see of that particular enemy. Now let's get the hell out of this awful place and finish this game, yeah? Because I don't know about you, but I'm ready to give Harmonia a piece of my mind. Looks like I wasn't the only one fighting off hordes of spiders though. Ares didn't make it. Shame. But hey, at least we have 3 lanterns now. But while we can now boost around the map with more freedom than we've ever had, it wouldn't be a Metroidvania if the game didn't force us to use our new mobility to its fullest extent with some particularly difficult platforming puzzles. To be fair, the most heinous of these puzzles are guarding collectibles, so for anyone just trying to finish the story or beat the game, you should be okay. But yeah, I may or may not have had to stare at the map a few times trying to figure out how to get from A to B. And after finding a hover boot upgrade that gives me more horizontal movement and allows me to make attacks while hovering, I find the last few collectibles I can manage before deciding to bull rush to the end. Don't get me wrong, I've done my best to find anything and everything I could, because when it comes to relatively unexplored games such as this, you never know what you might need. And all the powers I've been upgrading have really benefited my survivability, so none of it's been a waste of time. I've just reached my maximum brain capacity. The 1 or 2 brain cells I have left floating around up there have been pulling triple duty with some of these puzzles, and if I push them any harder, they're not going to remember how to English enough to finish the script. Besides, 13 survivors sounds like a good number to stop at. Surely that's how many you need for the good ending, right? Oh, alright, 14. I don't believe in superstitions, but the last thing I need is the comments telling me that I've cursed the next 7 challenge runs with my terrible joke. I collect a few last lore tidbits that seem to suggest that the cloning project Harmonia was working on was successful, though it apparently needs the necklace to be fully restored and brought to it in order to fully complete the ritual. See, I told you that necklace was bad news! Oh, I also found some lore that seems to imply that all of the Greek mythology characters are, in fact, reincarnations of their original selves and not just a fun use of mythological character names. That's a wild concept, though I guess it does explain why we keep having stirring memories every time we look at these statues depicting ancient Greek mythology. In fact, after finding and opening a door that required all 5 statues to progress, it looks like Hephaestus immortalized what happened in a huge statue mural hidden in the depths of the ship. I guess all the gods took up arms against Nyx and Aether in the past, and lost. As punishment, they were all forced into mortal shells, doomed to repeatedly die and be reborn over and over again for eternity. Of course, Nyx and Aether are quick to defend themselves, saying that the Greek gods were tyrannical and vain and sealed away in their mortal shells so that humanity could flourish, and also explain that Harmonia is attempting to break free of the cycle and become a goddess once more, at the cost of any and all human life around her. And while it definitely feels like neither side is guiltless here, I know enough about Greek mythology to know that the gods were absolutely terrible rulers that just followed their every whim. and Harmonia has been murdering a lot of people lately. And so, with Harmonia finally reached, it's time to make our choice. We can choose to kneel and let Harmonia rise to godhood once more, or we can force her to kneel instead. I think you know which option I chose. And as Harmonia floats away to prepare herself for battle, Aether grants me one last boon for making the right choice. And with Holy Blade now in hand, it's time for the final boss. Harmonia, our sister and murderer both. Oh, you thought I forgot about that little detail, did you? Here we go. Phase 1 is simple enough. Destroy the mirror images, then use the lanterns they drop to boost your way up to Harmonia proper. Then turn on your hover boots and hack and slash her until she falls, or be an idiot and forget to use your hover boots, then get punished for it with scorching rays from above. If you do manage to bring her down, you'll have ample time to wail on her, but just remember not to get too greedy, otherwise her mirror images will impale you in response. Her next series of attacks is a little tricky, as you'll need to cut down or dodge a mirror image as they all come crashing down, and then also avoid Harmonia's spear attack right after. Do enough damage though, and you'll reach phase 2, where Harmonia summons more images that throw projectiles at you while you try to get close. She'll make them in all sorts of angles, so you'll have to adapt on the fly. And if you're not careful, she'll charge attack you across the map, doing pretty significant damage. But throw a spear at just the right angle, and you can actually remove all of the images at once, giving you and Harmonia some much needed sibling bonding time together. Maybe go spearfishing. That's always fun. But then comes phase 3, where she gets even more aggressive and starts repeatedly stabbing you with no break in between. Probably not a big deal with a shield, but yeah, slight problem for us. Looks like we're gonna have to do some practicing with this one. But after a few more retries, I've got it. I can dodge her attacks, I can bring her down to the floor with ease, my wombo combo attack patterns are on point, and I'm so aggressive that even the mirror images look worried. And then, after several rounds of hacking her to ribbons, it's over. Harmonia, defeated at last. And there you go. Somber Echoes, beaten without a shield. Not a bad little game. Definitely scratches that Metroidvania itch I've been feeling lately. Regretfully, it looks like I've got the overall bad ending. I failed to find and get every single citizen off the ship, and also didn't collect all the pieces of the necklace. The only thing I did do was kill Harmonia, which may or may not have been the right choice. Nyx and Aether certainly seem to think so, but with the Athromatos destroyed and everyone aboard dead, 20 years have gone by, and the sarcophagus that held Harmonia's clone, which was ejected prior to the explosion, has finally opened, and the ritual I fought so hard to stop has officially begun. We did it? Oh god, Aether's gonna be so mad. A big thank you again to Somber Echoes for sponsoring today's challenge run. If you want to play it for yourself and get the true ending, you can use my link in the description or pinned comment down below and buy the game for yourself. But as for me, that's all I've got. Take care of yourselves, be good to one another, and I'll see you all again soon.